Today we're going to go with some vintage flat fender Jeeps on the Risky Biz trail near Hurricane, Utah on Sand Mountain. Risky Biz is an 8 rated trail. We went on this trail during the winter 4x4 jamboree with a bunch of other full-size Jeeps. This is just kind of the beginning of the trail leading up to the gatekeeper obstacle. This is me. My name's Stan Fuller. This is my 48 Willys CJ2A Grandpa's Jeep. This next rig is Brian Delight. He's also driving a 48 CJ2A. Following Brian is his brother Preston. Preston's Jeep is a military Jeep. It's a 1951 M38. Following Preston, we have Jeff Petrowich in his 1943 World War II Willys MB. Jeff calls his MB Bam Bam. Next up we have Ernie Ongaro. He's got a 46 CJ2A. Ernie calls this Jeep two-step. Our next rig is Alan Koller in his 51 CJ3A Thumper.
That gear!
Thumper is equipped with some really low gears. He has a Granny 4-speed transmission in that thing. Finally, the last of our crew of flat fenders is Jesse Coombs. This Jeep is a World War II Willys MB, 1942. He calls his MB Brutus.
Nice!
This is still just more of the early part of the trail leading up to the main gatekeeper obstacle. This trail has a lot of these kind of fins and washes, if you will, that we have to drive through, and they kind of dump us to the left a lot of times, just the way the formations occurred in this area. As we're climbing up this fin, you can see in the background the water of the Sand Hollow Reservoir. The reservoir and the beaches right around it in that area are all located within the Sand Hollow State Park. Where we're riding on these rocks and the sand is not really part of the Sand Hollow State Park, and technically it's known as Sand Mountain, or the locals like to call it the Hurricane Off-Road Trails, or the Hurricane Sand Dunes if you're over on the sand. This is not part of the state park. You don't have to pay a fee or anything to get into the off-road trails in the off-road area. You do have to pay a fee if you want to go into the state park and use the facilities there. A lot of times we hear many people, and I even do it, is we kind of call the whole area Sand Hollow, when technically where we ride is not really part of Sand Hollow. It's part of Sand Mountain and the Hurricane OHV trails. I shouldn't say hurricane because that's not how we pronounce it in Utah. The town is called Hurricane. That's how we can tell if you're from out of town. If you say, I'm visiting a hurricane, then you're an out-of-towner. Because if you're from Utah, you say hurricane. Although those big winds that blow down in the Gulf Coast are hurricanes. This little town is Hurricane. But it is named for the big winds that blow through there sometimes and that have caused the sand dunes that we have to ride on here at the Hurricane Sand Dunes.
Dude. Butter.
Now we're coming up on what is, well, I consider it the gatekeeper of this Risky Biz trail. There's several different lines you can take. If you go to the left, there's a lot of deep sand there and you have to turn around to the right in, and it's hard to move our little Jeeps in the deep sand. If you go to the right, you have bigger rocks to climb, and it can be problematic. So there's several different lines you can take, and I'll kind of talk about them as we go through. This is me going up. Last time I went on this, I went through to the left through the big sand pit, and I had to do like a 17-point turn to get turned around to the right and get around where I needed to be. This time I decided I didn't want to do that. I just watched one of the big Jeeps go up this line to the right, and I thought I would give it a try. The last time I was here, I tried to get over these big humps at the top, and I couldn't get over them. My belly hangs too low, and I kept getting hung up on my belly. So the way that I solved that was to go all the way around to the right, which I'm trying to get turned over to do right now. The issue with going around to the right is there is also a big drop off to the right, and the ledge is only about wide enough for our narrow Jeeps. Right here, I'm really nervous about the drop off to the right, asking for a little help.
You're good. Now it's on the edge.
Next up, Brian goes down in the sand the way I did the first time I came up there. It's a pretty good way to go if you can get some speed. But when you get up to here, that wall right in front of him is too tall for us to climb. And you have to get turned around to the right. And that sand is really deep right there in that spot. It's kind of really hard to turn very much, especially if you have a locker in your axle. It just pushes rather than turning. This took Brian a lot of backing up. I don't have all of it in the video.
You made progress. I mean, it's better than it was. Keep
Sitting there in the Jeep with Brian is his dad, David Delight.
24 times. Climbing first.
Dave and Preston
I
have
think you
a
might climb it now.
Jeep restoration business up in Huntsville, Utah.
Go, go, go.
And I work for them 1 or 2
Go,
days a
go.
week at the Jeep restoration business, which is quite fun to work with Dave. He's a super good guy, and They do really great
There you
work
go. There you go.
restoring these old flat fenders back to whatever condition you want it into. But our favorite, since I work there, our favorite is to take it clear down to the frame and restore
Yeah.
it back up to factory fresh.
You earned that one. Go easy.
Jeff has a mount right in front of him here where he can put his phone and record, give you kind of a driver's eye view of what these things look like. So we had a big group. We joined one of the sponsored rides at the Winter 4x4 Jamboree, and there was a big group of modern full-size Jeeps in front of us, and they all stopped and came back to watch us come up this gatekeeper obstacle. And that's what kind of all those people standing there watching are all the people that were in the group ahead of us. We're part of that group, but they came to watch and see how we did on this obstacle. And Preston, he had a little different idea of pulling way up far so that he could back up farther and not make so many short turns. Worked out pretty good for him. For those of you that don't know, the M38 is the military version of the CJ3A, roughly equivalent. Their military had lots of special requirements that they wanted on the Jeeps that were a little different than the civilian model, but this M38 is the same era and same vintage as a CJ3A, and a lot of the features are the same. Alan had a little different idea. He didn't want to drive up the sand pit and make all those turns. He also didn't want to drive around that knob at the top. He thought he saw a line of going right up the middle.
Nice, Alan. Woo!
Worked out perfect for him. I just threw this video of this big modern Jeep. It was right ahead of me in, so you could just kind of see the contrast between how our little Jeeps climb them and how these big rigs climb them. Brian got slightly off the line, and this big rock coming up throws him to the right a bit. Then he gets trying to clutch it to get out of it, and he got his clutch hot, and I don't know if his clutch was hot or the body was twisted or something, but the clutch would not engage the engine to the transmission for a few minutes. So we ended up putting a rope on him.
No clutch. No clutch. We're gonna have to. Yeah, you gotta.
That was me pulling Brian up on a rope.
Alright, Stan, hold on one sec. Got it, Dave?
Yeah.
You want to try driving?
Yeah.
Same.
Preston did about the exact same thing that his brother Brian did. Here we are approaching a really big obstacle. And in order to get there, you kind of scrape along this wall if you don't take it high enough. I had a hard time taking it high enough. This is a totally optional obstacle, and some people just went clear around it. I probably should have. As I'm driving up, watch this little arrow I put on here along this little wall here. That'll come into play in just a minute. I probably needn't have bothered on this thing. It's just really big.
No, right next to the hole. Right here?
In my arrogance, I guess, I thought that maybe I could find a line up it.
Try angling into that.
This way?
Yeah, no, the other way. Like I'm talking about.
So your front was right in the hole this time.
Right into it like this.
I start backing up to get a different approach, and that little wall that I pointed out to you, I wasn't watching. I just pulled right up on it and it flipped me on my side. These guys jumped in real quick and just pushed me right back up. I was probably on my side, I don't know how long was that, 5 or 6 seconds.
There's a little sticker right there by his foot. Just slap that. That's just a mag slap right there.
Felt pretty stupid about it. So when you do something stupid, you have to prove that you weren't so stupid by trying more stupid stuff.
Get that rope, get that strap. Wait a second, we gotta get this strap.
So I bashed against this thing another few times.
Okay. I'm talking like an inch.
Now cut back. You're gonna fall in here. Oh, maybe.
That won't go, will it?
Well,
Up on that.
you got to be up on that, but I think if you approach it at the angle you're on now and arc into it, I think you might be better.
Finally raised the flag of surrender and backed up and went around to the right. And that to the right is not really a gimme obstacle, but it's not nearly as big and nasty as the one I was trying to get up. I did back up and so I could get one tire at a time on the wall. That's a technique we use a lot when we can't get our bumper or our spring shackles directly onto the wall
A little more bump.
or over the wall. Take it at an angle, we can get a tire on there that lifts the shackles and springs up. This is just another little optional obstacle above the big obstacle. The big obstacle is right there.
You just want to.
The final guy in our group to give the big obstacle a try was Jesse and Brutus. This obstacle is a kind of a tricky one for Jeeps the size of our little Jeeps. There's a narrow wash here that we have to drive up, and then towards the top there's a ravine to the right that can swallow up your tires. You can stay really tight to the left, but you scrape along that wall, or you can try and straddle that ravine, that V notch, and get out of it that way. We tried it several different ways, and we all had various levels of success on it. I will say that this one, the fun factor for me on this one was lower than kind of the annoyance factor. So I don't know if I do this one again. I'll try a different line, and if that doesn't work, I'll just go around this one from now on. There's another spot right up there ahead where I'm trying to get through, where there's a big rock on the right and the wall on the left. and the only way I could figure out to get through was to scrape through, which isn't that
Probably
fun.
screwed, ain't I?
Really hard on your rear nip.
Can I back up?
No, because then you're gonna tip it on the side.
Jeff kind of got in a hole here and thought he might need to take a line out, but several guys came and sort of pushed him. They're pushing him right now. I'll show you a view of this from the outside.
I'm headed this way, right?
Yeah, come a little bit possibly, not much more though. You can try and
Driver.
go just a touch more maybe, just straight.
Thanks, guys.
We'll jump back to where they're kind of rocking him, trying to help him get out of that little ravine, notch, hole, whatever you want to call it. So Ernie and Two-Step, they climb up, trying the hug the wall technique, which he didn't like the feel of very much. They backed out and decided to try this straddle the hole technique. For whatever reason, he couldn't get that back tire up on that wall. I think finally, almost in frustration, he just blasted up it and made kind of a wild ride of it. This is a view of that from the top.
Come on, come on, come on, come on. Keep going. Don't go backwards.
This is Jeff trying to get through that next little spot. It's just an annoying little spot. It's got a big rock and step on the right that's hard to get over, and a wall on the left, and it's not really a challenge except how to try and not scrape your body all to pieces right here. Here Alan's going to try the straddle the hole technique. It's nice that he has a really slow, low gear that he can just really crawl along and making sure his tires are right where he wants them to be.
I'd go back more. You're getting on that big shoe lane. Okay. There you go.
Exactly.
I didn't even see it.
It's perfect.
This modern rig got in between us for a little while. Thought I'd just show this little clip of him climbing up this obstacle, just as a contrast. This little spot doesn't look like too much, but somehow I got my sidewall against the rock or a fin or something and knocked it off the bead. I usually run these non-directional tread tires at about 10 pounds on the trail. It's good to have Jeff around because he has all the tools and the know-how and the speedy actions to take care of something like this. He'll just jump out and do his pit stop routine. He has a little scissors jack that he runs with an impact wrench. Then we just put a ratchet strap around the tire to squeeze it back on the bead. We found that a wide strap like this one works better than most.
Grab that gauge out of Jeff's Jeep. What's that first hard notch? Is that 10 right there?
No idea.
Yeah. That's all right. I'm standing on your stand. So you got about 9. I'd put a little more in.
He said 5 pound. 5 on this is 9. Is what?
10, it's more like 13.
We'll call it.
I drove up this little ridge wall edge for a little while further, but then I decided I wasn't having that much fun. and I pulled out off to the right, a little bit smoother ground. Jeff tried the technique of putting his tires up on the edge of the wall. He's a lot more comfortable with his Jeep tipped over sideways like that than I am. I tend to lose my cool when I'm like that.
If you go passenger, you're gonna go right up. You wanna, yeah, it'll come down. That's well, now you're touching. There you go. That was awesome.
I'm the only one of our group that's been on this trail before, of our flat fender group. And this particular obstacle, I had to be towed up with the strap the last time. There's there's kind of two lines here with the variations on either of them. The one to the right is a little easier. I had taken the one to the left last time, and that's where I got stuck. So this time I went to the right. Some of the other guys decided to try the left line, or the harder line. First one up is Jeff. Bam Bam.
Okay.
More?
Yeah, you got more. You're okay for now.
Okay, now.
Rear diff, maybe.
Hoping that tire was going to catch up. Yeah, got some more passenger. Can I go more passenger back up?
You've got room to go more passenger up here.
Back up, back up. Okay. Can I go?
You're okay to back up.
What? Drive it back up.
You're gonna settle down here. It's fine.
Okay. Passenger. Okay, stop. Let's take another bite. Yeah, passenger, just a little passenger. Just take your wheel straight. Right back up just a hand.
Yes, yes, you can back up.
Okay, now.
I don't know if you in the.
Am I trying to go straight or am I trying to drop? Just try to go straight. Straight forward.
You're in the worst of the hole now. I think it's gonna get worse before it gets better.
Okay, can I get my back end? Can I get my passenger over this way more? Passenger forward. Passenger. That's gonna level you out. Sure about that?
Or it's gonna drop them.
Not bad.
Eventually, after lots of jockeying back and forth and trying to get this tire up and that tire up, decided he better take a winch. So I backed Grandpa's Jeep up and hooked on.
Okay, in.
This is just how that winch up looked from the back side. So you just heard Alan say he thinks he has the line figured out. So he's heading down to get his Jeep, give it a try. In the meantime, comes Ernie.
So this is the Mill Smile light. We'll be right here tomorrow.
You're in your diff.
You're on your diff.
You're gonna have to spin it more if you're gonna. You may have to unlock the rear even, maybe.
I don't know if you're gonna get over So this is what Jeff did, is he came straight up, but then
I bottomed out. I was hitting metal on metal. I couldn't do anything with it. Hey, oh, there. That's it. That's it. Oh,
you want a line? I think Alan, you're close to swapping. Yeah, that's pretty close,
Okay, fuel cut it.
So Alan, our second guy up the left
Okay, tight.
hand line, the more difficult line, he takes a winch line. So Jeff and Alan had to take a line out. Couldn't make it up this. So Jesse, he had to give it a try.
Not making it over that.
if you can get on this rock, it'd help a lot. Hey, Jesse, I think that if you were to turn hard driver and back up a hair, you can get this tire on this rock on the other side. Don't keep backing up though, if you can help. Yeah, but you can't fall past that or you'll be stuck on your shackles again. Now try to back up without falling off that edge. Can you back up like 2 or 3 inches? Okay, now try going this way as hard as you can. See if it'll climb that. It might slide you back over. Come on. That's it. Oh, you're still gonna hit that wall. Try to come forward as much as you can and come up and forward as much as you can and plant that bumper up against that and then hold it there and we'll. Oh, that's closer. Can you come up more? Your tire is come up more. Keep trying to do that. Okay, you're over it. Oh, okay, now hard driver and do that one more time and keep that tire on, keep your rear on the ledge. Can you do that without backing? Every time you back up, you lose everything you got. Yeah, it just slides you over. If you can get this way. You got to get it as far over the passenger as you can. You're not turning in the front. You're not locked in the front. Okay. You're going to fall off again. No, you're back hung up. Yeah. Well, I mean, you just got. Yeah. Well, I hate.
So while Jesse was banging against that rock step, the rest of the crew came up the other way. It started to get a little busy right here for a minute. We're trying to climb up this obstacle here, and then there's another group passing behind us on the road from the Milts Mile Light Trail, which passes right by here as well, and the rest of our group is up ahead of us. And then an airplane came by, so we had a lot of different traffic.
Yeah, you're not up against it. And then hold the Jeep there. Hold it there. Now, without backing up.
Eventually, the only way we could figure out to get Jesse up this wall, up over this step, was to stack some rocks under those tires to lift his bumper and his shackles up over that step. And also we put a winch on him to pull him up. So did some rock stacking and some winching. Right after that last obstacle, there's several ways you can come down off this little plateau right here, down into that big kind of clearing area where you see all the other Jeeps. We came down kind of a Z turn right here. You can see our guys coming down. I'm turning left right here. So we come down this, make a Z turn to the left, and then there'll be another climb up over the top and then a drop down. You could just go straight down and join up with the rest of the group, but the other climb is kind of fun too.
Stable. Sorry.
Right here you drop into this clearing, kind of a little valley, and then on the other side around to the right there's a climb up onto the little plateau again. This is where the big Jeeps, the modern Jeeps in our group, were climbing up this V-notch. We walked over and looked at it, and I think we could get up it just fine if we tried it, but they were climbing it and struggling and playing on it a little bit. In the meantime, we were just waiting out in the clearing for something to happen. This is really kind of the last obstacle of the trail to get up on top of this plateau. So there's another spot you can climb up on it. Right here in front, it's a real steep climb. And that's me climbing up it. I've climbed it before. It doesn't look too steep from here, but from the top it looks a lot steeper. This is just another view of my climb. Look at that little knob that my tire just missed there on the passenger side. It comes into play right now. Ernie Ongaro hits that knob with his passenger tire and goes right over the top of his Jeep. His roll bar, his one hoop roll bar, saved him. He just bumped his head a little bit on the ground. Here's a slow motion of that rollover. He wasn't hurt at all. We had several in our group that did concussion protocols with him and made sure that he was okay. He was up and walking around right after this. But he hits that knob right here, and it just bounces up. There really was no chance for him to recover. It all happened so fast. He couldn't really have reversed it. He was just up and over. One of the scariest things I've seen on the trail. Really feel blessed and watched over that Ernie was okay. We had a great group of people with us. The people in the big modern Jeeps came over. A bunch of people turned the Jeep over, helped Ernie pick up his stuff, um, and they worked on the Jeep. The radiator was punched back into the fan. The battery had a hole in it. They had to work on some of the clutch and brake pedals and some of the throttle linkage and stuff. Eventually, they got it all jacked around, and so that it could start. Both the headlights were broke out, the grill was pushed back, the hood was all bent up. Here's the Ernie starting it. That's Ernie in the driver's seat. So since it was leaking coolant and the battery was leaking as well, we decided to tow it out. But it could run enough to drive up on the trailer. And
Let's turn it off.
just one week later, Ernie, this is back at his house. That frame down at the bottom is his Jeep two-step. He got the body off, and he's got another body that he's going to put back on, and this Jeep will be back in action again as two-step 2. So grateful that Ernie is okay. So grateful for all of you for watching.